Joining us right now is the Daily Caller News Foundation editor-in-chief, Christopher Bedford. Chris, so it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. So we want to look at what happened in this historic meeting and what didn't happen, and also what happened in Washington at the same time. What's your reaction to what took place overseas?
Well, it wasn't a defeat for the United States. We didn't come away any weaker than we were before, and President Trump didn't give away the House in exchange for a deal that wouldn't have really kept the United States secure. If the North Koreans are unwilling to give up their nuclear program, which Kim has said he is willing to do, that's why he's there, then there's no reason to ease all the sanctions. That is the biggest chip that the United States has, and they're both dealing with their biggest bargaining chips: nuclear capabilities and the end of sanctions. And they decided not to swap, but it didn't collapse in some kind of acrimony. There's not a big fight going on right now. There's still a possibility. It was a lot to hope for in the first place.
Yeah.
Any kind of deal could be hammered out right now. Now we know it wasn't, but not a defeat, not a win.
Meanwhile, as the historic U.S.-North Korea summit was taking place, Michael Cohen testified in Washington, the president's former lawyer on Capitol Hill, yesterday in front of the House Oversight Committee. He called the president a liar, a cheat, a con man, but he backed up one of the president's strongest claims. Watch this.
Questions have been raised about whether I know of direct evidence that Mr. Trump or his campaign colluded with Russia. I do not. And I want to be clear.
There he was, being clear. President Trump spoke with Fox News' Sean Hannity last night, responding to the comments made by his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, confirming there was no Russia collusion. Watch this.
As far as Cohen is concerned, he's convicted. He's a liar. He's defrauded at a high level. He's got a lot of problems. And, you know, it was very interesting because he lied so much. I watched some of it. I actually was able to watch some of it. He lied so much, and yet he said when it came to collusion, the whole hoax with the Russia collusion, right, it's just a witch hunt hoax. And by the way, very, very bad for our country because it really stops you from doing what you're supposed to be doing. He said no collusion.
Chris, your reaction?
Well, he did say no collusion. He said no to some of the less savory details of the Russian dossier. He said a lot of things that might help President Trump. He also attacked him as a racist and a fraud and a liar. The problem here for Republicans is they spent all their time, I think correctly, questioning his credibility. So that it's not like either side can really do much with this. But my main takeaway from yesterday was that it was a masterclass from Chairman Elijah Cummings on how the Democrats could conduct themselves, where the president is abroad negotiating a massive, massive deal for the United States on foreign policy. And all day, every single channel was tuned into Michael Cohen saying salacious things about the president, mostly, almost entirely old news, things that have been rehashed, and just attacking the president. And Congressman Cummings didn't even have to lose his temper to let Republicans look a little bit foolish on television. And it was just it was a smart move by him and some good politics. I think the Democrats will keep some of that more in store for the president as the next 2 years unfold.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi, we should point out, Chris, is already trying to raise money off of that hearing. She said earlier yesterday that she hadn't listened to a word of Michael Cohen's testimony, but in the fundraising request that was sent out from the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, she said what we witnessed today should alarm us all, and she's trying to get people to give money to the Democrats for that, for putting on this dog and pony show, I suppose.
Everyone's going to make money on it. When Republicans tried to nail down Michael Cohen on not making money on a book deal, a movie deal, a TV deal when he gets out of prison, he just flat out refused to say he wasn't going to make money and pocket it. We didn't really learn that much yesterday, and it's all based on the word of a convicted liar. He's proven that he's willing to say what he needs to get ahead. Could some of it be true? Could some of it be false? Absolutely. But it's too difficult to parse out because the man has you can't trust the man.
What about the fact that he spoke to Adam Schiff and Elijah Cummings about the content before he sat down? I mean, also in the testimony, he debunked a key point of the controversial Steele dossier that sparked the Russia investigation. There's that as well. Watch this.
Have you ever been to Prague?
I've never been to Prague.
Never have.
I've never been to the Czech Republic.
He's never been to Prague and the Czech Republic. Now, isn't it true that in the dossier it said that Michael Cohen went to Prague to meddle in the election on behalf of Donald Trump, to meet with Russian officials?
That's one of the most key parts of the dossier, is that Michael Cohen was in Prague negotiating with the Russians to try and hand over U.S. democracy in exchange for President Trump winning. So far, it hasn't been nailed down once, but there have been leaks to the media from folks who were involved in the investigations that cell phone signals placed Michael Cohen there. Somebody somewhere is lying about this, and so far the evidence that Michael Cohen has actually been in Prague, it hasn't been released at all. It hasn't been proven. There was nothing new yesterday, nothing that was proven on collusion. It was a lot of just the same old, Trump's a bad person, we don't like him.
Christopher, Steve Forbes here. Speculate, if you will, why the president hasn't ordered the release of those documents that would show what actually happened in 2016 once and for all. Why doesn't he declassify them and put them out there, as he once indicated we might do?
I can't guess too much on that because I can't get inside of his head. I know a lot of his allies have pushed for him to release those documents. One rumor I've heard from folks in the White House is that they're holding their cards and they're waiting until the Mueller report comes out.
That's exactly it. I asked the president this several times, and he said to me that it will come out. It's just not the right time yet. He said if I would have declassified already, it would have been an old story right now. I think you're right. I think he's waiting for the Mueller report.
That's what his lawyers have indicated to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when we keep talking about Cohen in the testimony yesterday, we're saying that we haven't really learned anything new. But something I think that was really striking to me at the end, I was watching it right before we went on the 5, is that he got very, very political in that closing statement. And people might have missed it because they were watching it all day. But something that struck out to me is Cohen said that if Trump did not win re-election, that there would not be a peaceful transfer of power, Chris, among other things. So I don't know what you thought, but for me, that closing statement was so political that it sort of took away anything from the day about redemption and trying to tell the truth. This was a hack job by liberal activists writing that piece, in my opinion.
If that had been a movie scene, it would have been a very cheesy movie scene. There was actual laughter in our newsroom as he was reading that. And we were guessing, that we didn't have proof of it, that Lanny Davis, one of his lawyers, had a heavy hand in that because of the prose that Cohen was using really reeked of that kind of political, aggrandizing language. And I think it's an obscene myth that the transfer of power would not be peaceful if President Trump lost the election. The week before the election, The Week magazine predicted white riots in the streets if President Trump didn't win. All the talk was about Republicans not accepting President Trump losing to Hillary Clinton. But here we are 4 years later or 3 years later, and all we're still dealing with is Democrats being incapable of dealing with the fact that President Trump won.
You mean a worse handoff than the handoff of President Obama to President Trump when President Obama changed all of the rules in the intelligence agencies so everybody could share everything, and then they unmasked people? Oh, and you mean how he used the agencies like the DOJ and the FBI for political use? A worse
Actively
handoff than that?
Actively sabotaged the incoming administration. It's not a good look.
Yep. Christopher, it's good to have you on the program this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Chris Bedford.